So hello, yes, thank you for that. And normally when I'm at home, I have two cats meowing, so it's quite good. Me and Siobhan usually have a sort of relay. So yeah, it's my turn to say hello and welcome you to the conference. And I've been asked to talk a little bit more about the 70 at 70 and actually what it is. Because I think that although we've tried to disseminate the program across the country, it has been really a bit tricky with the COVID situation. So it was designed in 2018 to start in 2019, and the title came from the NHS being 70, and then 70 lead research nurses across the country were invited to take part in the programme. And with the full support of the wonderful Julie Dawes, I was able to apply and got a place. So like I said, it's 17 nurses, which you can see on the slide there, not that we look 70. So the NIHR did recognise that as nurses and midwives, a huge volume of people and the biggest workforce, that they could really contribute to research, clinical research, but also be able to feed back and ask the questions that should be being asked and to do their own research, which is absolutely vital. Excuse me. Now, with the programme, although it's directed as nurses and midwives, it's very much been multi-professional. So really incorporated our AHPs and non-registered staff as well, because that's how we work. So like I said, it's to, as I've got on the slide there, enhance the profile of the NIHR amongst nurses and midwives so people know what the NIHR actually is. Contribute to the NIHR nursing in midwifery workforce and development. And obviously this morning we've, excuse me, talked a lot about workforce and the importance. Sorry, it's not COVID. And then really look at the input and the influence to the NIHR decision makers. And that really, as the 70 group, we have been lobbying for lots of different reasons, for clinical academic awards and funding and the actual time that you can actually get an application in. And that was really difficult this year. So it really is then in looking at research design services, looking at the support that there actually is for nurses to access, to be able to go on and do their own research, as well as knowing how to contribute. And really improve the pipeline of nurses and midwives to accelerate the findings, so actually to get research through, finished and implemented into practice as evidence-based. Can I have the new slide, please, Emma? She's smiling. So, okay, so this is kind of what we've done over the last couple of years. So the programme is a 3-year programme, and I'm funded 2 days a week to support the work with the NIHR, but it finishes next year. So early next year, it'll be the end of it. So really it's reflecting on where we've gone so far and where we were hoping to sort of be within the organisation and across Wessex and then nationally. So what we've managed to do so far is to really influence the NIHR, and they have listened. They've been very receptive, and it's looking at sort of steering groups that we've been able to sit on, looking at the design and the delivery of research and how that should be. And it's very much sitting in these meetings at, you know, strategic level, but you are there as the nurse, giving your opinion in your experiences as a nurse, and then really trying to feedback within your organisation what that means to be able to talk and share. Looking at advisory roles within nursing and the perspective of what we do and how we do it. Like I said, it is multi-professional. We do sort of, you know, feed that back about how we're kind of working. And then, like I said, just supporting research as a whole. How do we do that within the organisation? How do we share what we're doing and how we're doing it? Because it is clinical practice. The workforce, like I said, is a huge undertaking. The integration of what we do, the awareness, how we do that, and really looking at the, like I said, the national strategy, but the spiritual support. How do we actually do this, and how do we support ourselves as we're trying to grow? the capacity, what capacity have we got to do research? Certainly in my experience, research can increase the workload, and that could be very difficult to actually then deliver the research. How do we actually do this with a really overstretched and very busy clinical teams? How do we then ask saying, well, can you please do this extra ECG or bloods or whatever? It is very patient-centered. This is a patient's treatment choice. Therefore, that's how we should deliver it, but we're fully aware that actually that can be very difficult. Liz has mentioned the redeployment. We were, from what I know, certainly within the 70, we were the only trust to have staff redeployed to us, as well as ours going to support the clinical needs in the organisation. And that really represented how we are reviewed, respected, and that we do work together. So knowledge-wise, we are, there's lots of publications that we review and that we are actually writing to sort of share what we're doing and what we're knowing, and the greater integration with peers. And that's been really important, looking at, yes, the medical models of what we do, but also across the region and again, nationally, what are we all doing? How are we doing this? What works? And then clinical academic careers, which I know will be talked about a bit later, but that is a huge factor. So collaboration, again, I know we've touched on this, but certainly from a clinical and nursing point of view, it's absolutely vital to integrate. We are one clinical network, but actually to collaborate when we've got different roles, it can be really quite difficult at times. And there is a culture that we work within our areas, and that's fine. And that's how we practice. And that's what's normal within our practice. But actually looking at socially as nurses, what can we do and what can we do better? Worked an awful lot with the CRN, the Clinical Research Network within Wessex, looking at our different roles, how we do them. We're just starting to do a project on what does apprenticeships, how can that look? Can we design an apprenticeship for clinical trials assistants that really look at what the roles are across the patch? We do have movement within the different trusts, so actually being able to have staff that can move from one trust or another, but we don't have to retrain, we don't have to change on what those roles and competencies are, would be huge, so important to us. We actually need time to facilitate, to make these links and actually share knowledge and ways of working, which would be really difficult. As part of the 70, regionally, we were shortlisted for the National Awards, Nursing Times Award. Didn't win, but we were very good. And development. We have student nurse and physios for the first time, which has been massive, and we're learning so much from them. There is the MRes, the Masters in Clinical Research with the University of Winchester that started this year. They've been absolutely brilliant, listening to what we potentially will need, and they have ensured that non-registered practitioners can take part in the programme. And we have one of our staff starting in September who's non-registered, who is going to do a Masters in Research. Preceptorships, quite keen to get those as well, so we're going to have a look at that. And research skills for those outside research defined roles. So again, clinical teams, how do we do that? How do we support them, knowing what research is, but also knowing that the study that they're delivering is so important and why. And then for us to develop new research skills, how do we embed what we're doing in different areas? And let's take on board what the clinical teams are doing a bit more. Like I said, it's all patient-centered. Next slide, Emma, please. So I'm just mindful of time. Okay, so next steps, like I said, we haven't got long. It's soon looming next year, and that's not going to take out as well all the times for the reports for the NIHR. So what we really want to do is increase teaching capacity, and that's across the organisation for registered and non-registered staff to really understand what research is and that everything they do is absolutely vital. Really expand the clinical academic award applications. Nurses do put applications in midwives, but not as successful as AHPs. And it's looking at why is that, and really getting confidence in ourselves and the impact that we can make. Develop the workforce in alliance with regional needs. So we have our organisation needs, but there are also regional and of course national. That's why the 70 is across the country. Establish clinical research priorities. So what is the priorities in the organisation? If we're going to do research and nurses, AHPs, what does the organisation want us to do them within? What certain programmes, what topics, what can we really focus on to make a difference to the trust? Greater integration with other organisations. So not just us, what do our local trusts do? It's worked very well in other neighbouring trusts. So what could we do, especially if we're looking at university status? Streamline systems and processes, make it as slick and easy as possible to be able to do the research and implement it. And then strengthen the links with QI and looking at shared programs of work. Now with QI, I teach and coach on the QI program. I used to work in the Patient Safety Collaborative, and what we managed to do there, so the Patient Safety Collaboratives and sat within the HSNs don't do research. However, with the QI project, it was leading a regional pressure ulcer campaign to reduce the pressure ulcers in lots of different areas. So what we managed to do alongside that was a research study looking at patients' unmet need. Where did we get it wrong from the patient's point of view? So you have a QI study looking at evidence-based practice. What are those benchmarks? What do we do? How should we do that? And really looking at those critical junctions where it didn't go well, improving that, but then research alongside it to talk to the patients and find out from their perspective what went wrong, what was their unmet need, what didn't we do, so we can improve evidence-based practice and change how we're doing and what we're doing. So I'm very passionate about QI. I think the last slide, Emma, but I think it's just questions. And we may not get time. Yeah, so literally, there's my email address. I know it's a quick whip through. So yeah, anybody wants questions or wants to meet, even if it's Teams, phone calls are absolutely fine. We can talk through some more of these issues. I don't know if we've got time though for questions. No,
we're going to move on. Thank you very much, Cindy.
All right, sorry, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour.